Have you been abducted but you just don't remember? Missing time, game time, deja vu,
Strange marks on your body afterwards?
strange marks? Well, today we discuss alien abduction. John Lear, pilot for the CIA, Air Force captain, spoke often about UFOs, what he learned in the military, and he said that everybody on the planet has been abducted at least one time, but your memory has been erased. James Rink, super soldier, survivor, hypno-regressionist, is helping others to remember.
What was erased?
What was erased?
Dolores Cannon. She's a hypnotist and pioneer for quantum healing. She unlocked the abduction memories buried deep in her client's subconscious. And then there's Chris Bledsoe, very religious man, who broke down and cried out to God when the aliens and orbs arrived.
And in today's episode 3, we will share our abduction stories, how we were abducted, so myself and Firefox, and
how hypnosis helped us to uncover the truth.
are you ready to go?
Beyond the Meatsuit.
I'm Salt,
I'm Firefox.
your co-host for Truth, Love, and Freedom. Oh, before we jump in, don't forget to like, subscribe, share. We need your support and your love to grow.
Yep, we're not backed by big media. We're backed by you. Check the links below to buy our gear, send us a cup of coffee, or just share this with someone who needs to wake up.
This is Salt. I'm going to share my true alien abduction story with you. So the abduction story, about 5 years ago, I was abducted in Sedona by aliens, by our government. I'm not 100% sure, but I was abducted. I have a mark on my foot to prove it, and a story. Now, I have a full detailed story that I recorded after the incident with all the details, but this is my memory of it 5 years later. I may not have every bit of information. It was a long time ago, and guess what? They erase your memory. So one evening, we were boondocking in the desert of Sedona in an RV, me and my ex, and I went out about 3 a.m. to walk the dog. Lilu was her name, my baby girl, and my dog wants to go out to the bathroom, so I take her out, and the whole sky is lit up like end to end. It's like white, like daylight. It's like daylight. So understanding the area now, it would have went from about, if I was facing west, I was facing kind of northwest, so I was kind of facing the Secret Mountain Wilderness area, and Sycamore Canyon would have been here from my viewpoint. Bradshaw Ranch, Robbers Roost, Shaman's Cave, all the way over to Secret Canyon. The sky was just lit up like a UFO crashed or some portal to another dimension opened up. It was bizarre. And I go, wow, I don't want to get abducted. So I went back to bed. I told my ex in the morning. He said, why don't you wake me up? I said, well, why? So we can go out there and poke around and get abducted. Now we're fairly far away from it. I had 6 to 8 miles, maybe a little bit further. I don't know exactly where it was. I couldn't see from where I was exactly where. But then vehicles started flying by. And the vehicles didn't fly by right away, but we had several cop cars, police cars. And it's a dirt road, pretty rough. They were hauling butt to get out there. And then after, I don't know, maybe 5 police cars, we had trucks, vans, and SUVs. Mostly SUVs, mostly vans. More white than black, not all black. They were more white than black. There were black ones, and they either had no windows or the windows were completely, painted over or blacked out. So after about 23, I forget the number, went through, I stopped counting. I was working remotely on my computer, and I was like, yep, Sedona. So my ex had actually gone to work prior to all the vehicles passing by. Now, I went out for a hike. I came back in. My hike was to a wash. I would go to this one wash area, and this one wash area, basically, it took me about 10 minutes to get to. Sometimes I kind of meander a little bit and go to a slightly different area, but I like this one area. The energy was good, and I would run energy through my body, healing, right? And I would meditate. So when I go out to hike, it's a walking, kind of a lucid meditation, getting information, downloads, healing, and then usually I kind of go down for a bit, and then I kind of come back up, and I get my insights or my visions, etc. So I did that, and it was fine, and I came back, and my girl Lilu was with me. And usually when I do this, she sees orbs and things when I'm starting to do this, so she freaks out a little bit, but that's normal, and we go back. When I get back to the parking area where the RV was, it's a, an open parking area. By the way, you can't camp there anymore. It is illegal to camp there. Go figure. And this couple came in with a little truck, and shortly behind them, another woman had pulled in. Now they had just, you could see, gotten there and were starting to do a map on the hood of their car as I was kind of coming back in. The other lady came in after. My dog Lilu was very excited to meet people. She always is. Camping is kind of a, very social thing for some. So my dog's excited to meet these people. My dog Lilu starts running over, and the two in the vehicle, the truck, man and the woman, about 70-ish, maybe even older, they were pretty aggravated that I was even coming near them. The other woman was kind of more accepting, like, yeah, bring your dog over, say hi. And the other two were mad. So on their hood was a typography map. And I looked at them and I said, are you here because of the event last night? And they looked at each other and they said, what event? There's no event. There was no event. And I said, oh, right. No event. Right. Oh, I thought there was a fire. So I didn't do the air quotes. But here in Sedona, when we have like strange activity, UFO activity, and cops going by setting up barricades that the military passes, right? That's kind of what happens here. They say it's a fire. So what they'll do is they'll have the cops go set a barricade, and then let's say non-publicized military, like unmarked vehicles, go, which is what happened. And then usually the fire department is called out, but I didn't see the fire department. But I'm pretty sure that's what was going on with the roadblock. Anyhow, so I said, oh, you're right. There was a fire, right? And they said, there was no fire last night. And I said, oh, and I know now I'm in trouble. What are you doing here then? And they said, we are search and rescue. And I said, is somebody missing? And they said, no. And I said, oh, what are you doing here then? Not mean, just what are you doing here? And they said, we are doing training for search and rescue. And I said, okay, good lie. And they they were up to something, and they didn't want to tell me, and I screwed up, and I shouldn't have said anything. So I know I'm kind of potentially going to get in trouble with the government at this point. So they basically took their stuff, packed up in a hurry, and went back out in the direction they came from. They did not go to do search and rescue, and the other woman left right behind them. So instead of going the way they would for search and rescue, they went the other way. And did they look like search and rescue? No, they looked like old retirees, unable to really hike very far or do anything. The one woman was actually a little bit more fit for late 60s, but the other two didn't look very able-bodied to do any search and rescue. All right. So my ex comes home, and he said, so what did you see after the cops in the SUVs and the vans? I said, well, I didn't see the fire trucks come in. I would have expected to see the fire trucks. And he said, oh, well, when I just came in from work, I passed the fire trucks. They're kind of out parked near 89A, but like, on the corner. They're parked out there in one of the parking lots. I said, okay, that makes sense. I said, what did they say in town? He said, they said it was a fire, a big fire in the desert. I said, okay, probably the biggest fire Sedona ever had. It would have burned down more forest than we have. I don't know if that's possible, but it would have been on the national news, this fire, if it was that big. So anyhow, the next day, he goes to work. I get up. I do my usual hike to the same general area. Now, I do have a mark on my foot that I will show you a photo of so you could understand. There was like a burn mark left behind, a triangle. I would go for walks often. I like to meditate in washes. So me and Lilu, we go out for a walk. I'm here with my boy Lakota, my dog. The story involved Lilu. Lilu and I would go out hiking in the outskirts of Sedona in the desert often, kind of remote areas. If it was a straight line, about 10 minutes from my RV, but I took a meandering trail. I always do that. I take different trails. I don't know why, I just do. Take different trails to the same general location. and I go to do a little relaxing. I'm playing nice music. I'm running energy through my body. I'm healing, and I'm now meditating. So when I meditate, it's very active, but then I usually will, at a certain point, lay down or sit and kind of go, let's say, out of it for a bit. So I do that, and I do this all the time, and I get downloads and information and healing. But this time, when I came to, nothing felt strange other than that usual foggy headedness. And I went to go to the bathroom just to urinate in the middle of the desert. And I looked down. Whoa, my urine is green. It was bright fluorescent green. So this bright fluorescent green urine came out of me, and I go, what? And basically when I go, what? Next thing you know, I'm not there anymore. I'm somewhere completely different. So it is my understanding what happened at this point was I was already taken. I was already put back. I saw the urine. I realized somebody took me, and then boom, they took me again because they try to erase your memory, right? And they do a pretty good job at it because I don't remember everything. I just remember the highlights of this. So now all of a sudden, I'm in the middle of somewhere else, and I am again kind of waking up from a dream, but I'm standing there and I'm kind of like this. Where am I? And I look on the ground and I see my feet and I see lava rock. Well, that's funny because I was in a sandy wash with limestone. There was no lava rock. Now where am I? And I look around, and when I do my hiking, I don't always rely on compasses or any kind of all trails or GPSs because the electromagnetic energy can kind of be skewed, especially here in the Sedona area or anywhere there is electromagnetic anomalies. So I was looking for a rock formation called House Mountain is in the distance, and it's a big mountain. I can't see it. And I go, that's a big mountain. I can't see where did they put me? And now I realize they took me, put me back. I'm very drugged up, feeling very, very drugged up. So when they take you and put you back, yes, there can be drugs. Obviously, I had bright green urine. They're also sometimes, working with these like kind of wormhole technologies. So you don't always feel quite normal. So when I stand and I start to look at my surroundings, I go, where's my girl? Where's Lilu? Where's my baby girl? And now I'm mad. So you put me in the middle of nowhere. I'm drugged up. I'm dehydrated. It's the hot desert, and my dog's gone. So all of a sudden, my dog popped up. It was like I popped up out of nowhere, and then she popped up out of nowhere. And I was like, baby girl. And she was like, mommy. And we kind of ran towards each other. And then from there, she wanted to go this way. And you think dogs would know, right? And I wanted to go this way. And she was insistent that this was the way to go. And I am very intuitive also. And my dog is, very domesticated. Lakota probably would know where to go. So she wanted to go this way. I wanted to go the other way. We had a little bit of a disagreement. I said, baby girl, we are going this way. I don't care. And I'm really glad I did go the way I chose, because if I went the way she suggested, we'd be out in the middle of nowhere. And again, I was already dehydrated. I was really drugged up. I don't know how long I was gone for. So time isn't really real when you're abducted. You could be gone for 5 minutes or 5 years or 20 years. There's a program, 20 and back. So I was gone and put back. I don't know how long. I'm so dehydrated. So if I went this way, I probably would have died in the desert, not unless they were nice enough to pick me up and throw me back again. So that's what really made me mad. Anyhow, so we go this way, and I'm walking, and I'm going, and I'm walking, and there's lava rock. And luckily, the desert was fairly barren, because otherwise there's a lot of rattlesnakes out there. It is daytime. I'm incoherent from the drugs or whatever wormhole effect, whatever it is. So finally, I get back to where I could see House Mountain. And what it was is I was behind some type of a large cinder cone, which is a volcanic area, and I couldn't see because of that. So I don't know how far I was walking. It seemed like forever. I suspect my typical, let's say I was supposed to be 10 minutes away, I was probably 45 minutes, an hour away. And when I finally got back to my RV in the middle of the desert, I went to the bathroom again. And when I went to the bathroom again, bright green urine. And people say, why don't you collect your bright green urine and take it to the hospital or a doctor or MUFON or the government? I'm like, so I can get taken again and my memory erased again. This is not my first rodeo, but it was definitely the sloppiest abduction I think I've ever had. So yeah, I'm not going to take my green urine. I suppose now, knowing everybody I know and having a tighter circle of people I trust, I would have gathered that evidence and taken it to the right person, but I didn't. So anyhow, I had a really bad headache. I went to sleep. I was just so sick with a migraine, throwing up for a good day and a half. I've got that mark on my foot, and I was so freaking ticked off because they were going to leave me in the desert, I swear to God, for dead. Maybe they wouldn't, but who was behind this? I have a red triangular mark burned into my foot. It's still there. By the way, about a year and a half ago, I have another mark on my right foot that I didn't notice where that came from. I didn't notice it when it was fresh. I'll try to get a picture of that too. It's not as distinct, however. So I've got one triangle here, one triangle there. We get abducted all the time. They erase our memory, but it's hard for them to erase everybody's memory. The older we get, if you were part of some type of a military program or tag or anything like that, your memory is wiped a lot, but some of us remember. So I can remember some of my abduction. What I don't remember is who did it, but based on the sloppiness of it, this tells me low-level government interference garbage. Typically, they are working with grays. They could be working with just themselves. They could be working with reptilians. So the only way for me to really know is to dive in a little bit deeper and do hypno-regression. That's all the information I have from a conscious level. So we're going to do that hypno-regression on our next podcast. So that's my story. And while I am smiling, I was pretty perturbed. Now, Firefox is going to talk about his abduction and some things. When I met Firefox, he has had a lot of surgeries and things done. And as an intuitive, I said, what is that from? And he told me, and I was like, no. He goes, I'm not lying. I go, you don't think you're lying, but you are. And there was one injury on his foot somewhere where he said, well, I got a piece of coral in my foot. I said, yes, that is true. So as he discussed some of the injuries or surgeries he had, I could tell he was lying, although he didn't know. So are you ready for Firefox's abduction information? Firefox, take it away.
I'm Firefox, and this is my abduction story. Now, this happened in 2013 while I was living in Sedona. I woke up that morning and just instinctively or just reflexively grabbed my shoulder. And I felt a wetness, something warm and wet. And I took my hand away, looked at my hand, it was blood. And of course, I looked at my shoulder. I saw where the blood was, and I just squeezed it, and I saw a wound open up. Nice, very sharp, clean cut. Not a tear, just very sharp and clean. And the only thing I've ever seen like that was my time back in basic training in the Air Force in 1981, when they actually gave us these shots with these air guns. And one thing they told us was not to move. If you moved, it would just tear you up on the inside. And that's exactly what happened. I must have moved, because for the next 4 months, I was in so much pain. It took a long time to heal. Now, when I looked back, trying to remember what happened, I had these faint memories that an alien and humans had invaded my bedroom. That made me wonder what happened. And I started having these memories of my bedroom being invaded by one alien with humans. It's about 4 of them all together. And I must have woke up and fought them. And that's all I could remember. Until just a couple years ago, Salt and I went to a UFO conference here in Sedona, and this is where James Rink spoke at, but I wasn't able to go the day he was there because I had to go to work. So Salt was able to ask him about me, saying that she knows I was experimented on in the service and I had an abduction story that I don't quite remember. So she set up an appointment with him for me, and I was able to get regressed. And I found out that they didn't invade my bedroom. What happened was they levitated me off the bed, and I went through a portal on my bedroom wall, and I ended up in a medical facility. And that's where it all happened. That's where the alien and the humans were. And then when one of them tried to inject me with something, that woke me up. And I fought. I wasn't restrained. I guess they were overconfident in their devices knocking me out for the procedure. That I woke up and I believed I fought them. And then whatever device they used, they turned it up really high, knocked me out again. And of course, I'm sure they tried to mind wipe me. And that gave me the faint memories I did have before I met James Rink. Well, I'm already a hypnotherapist with the IHF. And of course, Salt learned the QHHT techniques from Dolores Cannon's. We're going to use hypnosis and regress each other and find out more. And we'll get back to you on that. Salt, join me.
All right. So Dolores Cannon wrote a book called Custodians and other books. In her hypno-regression, she was able to tap into multiple people who had been in contact with ETs. And her books talk about some of these things, and I'll put some links down to her books below, but it helps people. The question is, were these abductions about healing, or were they about harvesting? Were they about DNA, or were they about awakening? So I'll put some links down to her work down below. And then there is Chris Bledsoe. Chris Bledsoe, he wrote a book called UFO of God, and he was suffering a really bad crisis where, I mean, he was close to just like, I don't want to be on this planet anymore. And he cried out to God, and God showed up. But it showed up as aliens, a UFO. His church was not thrilled. They said he was working with demons. Not true. He also went under hypno-regression with a Dr. Michael O'Connell, revealing his missing memories. Now, in his cases, he had a lot of blocks. So you have a lot of blocks, and I've worked with Firefox a little bit since I learned QHHT. He's got more blocks. Blocks can be difficult. So I would check out his book as well, especially if you are a Christian and you're wondering more about how aliens are tied into God, because it's a really good story. Hold on, Lakota. My dog is like hitting the poop button. We have a poop button. I don't know if you heard it. Poop. All right, we'll be with your poop in a minute.
James Rink. Now, he was a super soldier survivor, and he's now a regressionist. He's the host of the Super Soldier Summit this October in Florida, and he works with people recovering their suppressed memories from military abductions, hybrid programs, and my lab conditioning. He helped me uncover the truth. He can also help you. Great.
So I'll put some of the links down to his book and his event in Orlando coming up if you want to learn more about that. So today we are talking about alien abduction and hypno-regression, but it's often tied into the military. So we're going to bring you more of this. So let's wrap this up. In wrapping this up, it seems that not all abductions are the same. Some are more traumatic or even to induce trauma or fear. Some can be more for healing. Some may be chosen even before we come here, right? We may have chosen to be abducted. Some of my abduction stories are not bad. I have more to share with you. Mm-hmm. And what about the rest of you?
Well, we may have no idea what really happened until we pull the thread. What if your missing time was never really lost?
Yeah. Missing time, gain time, deja vu. Where were you? What happened to you? Anytime you have anything like that, you should always question it. All right. So we are going to do hypno-regression on the next podcast. So I'll be going under, and we'll pre-record it. just in case anything really crazy and intense comes out that we don't necessarily need to share with everybody. Sometimes, I mean, I get downloads that I'm not supposed to share everything with you all. Sorry. And then I'll try to get Firefox under there as well.
Thank you for going beyond the meat suit. We can't do this without you.
Join us for truth, love
and freedom.
Like, subscribe, bell, whatever, ding dong, ding-a-ling-a-ding dong. That sounds stupid, but all right, please subscribe. And by the way, if you want to grab any of our cool gear, anything we're ever wearing, if there's anything we're wearing that you can buy on Amazon or anywhere else, I'll put the links below. But please join us, be part of our tribe. Also, feel free to donate. It helps us grab some gear, spread the word, check out the Super Soldier Conference. We'll see you later. We love you.